when the most powerful leaders on Earth fall silent, what message could be too bold even for the United Nations? This week in New York, President Vladimir Putin delivered a speech at the UN General Assembly that sent shockwaves through the chamber and across capitals worldwide. For more than 40 minutes, delegates, journalists, and entire governments listened as Putin delivered his boldest address in years. Tension gripped the hall. It spiked when Putin declared the world now stands on the brink of a new era and that the old systems of global governance simply no longer work. His words froze the audience, leaving even veteran diplomats silent. Observers everywhere recognized a turning point, one that could reshape how nations cooperate and compete. Why does this matter to you? Ignoring the meaning of this moment could leave you unprepared for changes that will affect not only world politics, but also your economic security and your nation's standing in a transforming global order. Let's break down what really happened inside that hall in New York, and why Putin's challenge could ripple far beyond diplomatic circles. What exactly did Putin say, and why did it provoke such a powerful reaction? To understand the stakes, we need to examine the speech itself. This was no ordinary political address. It was a direct challenge to the foundations of the global order. Russian President Vladimir Putin stood at the podium of the United Nations General Assembly. For just over 40 minutes, he unleashed words designed to unsettle, not reassure. He spoke of international security, energy, and the very purpose of the United Nations, but his true aim was to shake the system itself. Putin's core message was blunt. The old model of global leadership serves only a handful of powerful nations, leaving the majority unheard. He demanded an authentic, equal dialogue, one where no state bullies or coerces another. What he called for was a new era, where every nation's sovereignty is respected, free from intimidation. His speech drew a sharp line through the assembly hall. Western diplomats sat rigid, arms folded, while delegates from Asia, Africa, and Latin America nodded or even clapped. The divide was unmistakable. He accused powerful countries of wielding international law as a political weapon, especially through sanctions. According to Putin, these measures do not topple governments. They punish ordinary people, cutting off jobs, education, and medical care. These choices, he insisted, harm millions worldwide. Why does this matter? Because ignoring these warnings risks missing seismic shifts that could redefine global security, prosperity, and the fate of entire nations. As the echoes of Putin's speech faded, a new sense of urgency swept through the corridors of power. The world was left to wonder which side of the divide their future would fall. When a world leader denounces the rules as rigged, the world holds its breath. Who stands to lose, and who stands to gain, when the foundations begin to crack? At the heart of the recent United Nations General Assembly, Russian President Vladimir Putin delivered a forceful warning. He claimed the global order is failing, with ordinary people paying the highest price. Western sanctions, he argued, do not just target governments, they devastate families, destroy jobs, and cut off access to food, medicine, and education. His words resonated in regions already battered by instability. Western leaders responded with a blend of skepticism and unease. Many saw the speech as a calculated move, aimed not at Europe or America, but at Moscow's allies and at Russians themselves. Yet even among critics, there was an admission. His call for reform struck a nerve, forcing uncomfortable questions into the open. The most striking response came from the global South. Delegates from Asia, Africa, and Latin America voiced their own frustration, feeling excluded from decisions that shape their destiny. For these nations, it was less about siding with Russia and more about demanding a genuine voice in a world order that often ignores them. Experts note that calls for United Nations reform are nothing new. What sets this moment apart is the urgency and the shifting alliances beneath the surface. By spotlighting the human cost of sanctions, Putin reignited a dormant debate and raised the stakes. If major institutions continue to ignore growing dissent, trust in the system could unravel. The dangers are real. If these tensions are brushed aside, the legitimacy of the United Nations and other global bodies may collapse. Markets could swing wildly, alliances may fracture, and the rules that once kept conflict in check might no longer hold. The world risks sliding into an era where might overrides principle, and uncertainty reigns. As world leaders weigh their next moves, the question lingers. Will calls for reform lead to real change or deepen the divide? The answer may decide the future shape of global power. Few speeches reshape history overnight, unless they expose fractures too deep to mend. After President Putin's address, urgency swept through the United Nations. The idea of reform was no longer a distant debate. Suddenly, delegates from every continent weighed proposals to expand Permanent Security Council membership, a move that could upset the very balance of global power. New initiatives emerged, demanding transparent systems to review sanctions and their real impact on civilians. With humanitarian concerns spotlighted in Putin's words, leaders questioned if sanctions truly serve justice or simply entrench old inequities. Nations like Brazil, Indonesia, and South Africa seized this rare momentum. For years, they had lobbied for a more inclusive world order. Now, emboldened by the moment, their calls for change rang louder, impossible to dismiss. A diplomatic chain reaction began. In the days following the speech, several countries quietly reconsidered their positions on crucial resolutions. Sanctions, development aid, even the very definition of international legitimacy. Behind closed doors, alliances shifted and priorities were re-examined. Still, experts disagreed. Was this a genuine turning point, or merely another move in the grand chess game of international politics? The stakes, risk, and opportunity hovered in the balance. Missing these signals could leave countries and citizens exposed to abrupt changes in law, unexpected alliances, or economic shocks. In a world ruled by uncertainty, vigilance is not just prudent, it could determine survival. The world watches, holding its breath. What comes next may redefine the rules everyone thought were set in stone. When the balance of global power shifts, the effects can reach right into our daily routines. The fierce debates at the United Nations are not distant theater. They shape jobs, fuel prices, and the stability of local economies in every corner of the globe. If the global order is being rewritten, today's decisions bring new dangers and chances for individuals and businesses alike. Understanding these changes is not just for diplomats or executives. Anyone who pays attention gains an edge, from spotting a sudden spike in the cost of gas to foreseeing workplace shifts triggered by new trade rules. Public involvement is vital. The more we know, the more we can join honest debates that press leaders to act wisely. When public opinion is unified and loud, it can tip the balance in diplomatic negotiations or push governments to change course in international disputes. Above all, track reliable news and policy alerts, especially on sanctions and world trade. The landscape is shifting quickly. A single round of sanctions or a new trade deal could alter everything from your monthly energy bill to the price of bread. Those who fail to adapt risk missing fresh opportunities or being blindsided by growing threats, both abroad and at home. That is why staying vigilant and staying informed matters more than ever. In this new era, Putin's bold speech is more than a headline. It is a warning flare. What happens next could redraw the map of global influence. History does not wait for debates to end, nor should you. The world's balance is shifting. Russian President Vladimir Putin's address at the United Nations shook the foundations of the global order, demanding a move toward a multipolar world and reforms to international institutions. These are not just distant declarations. They mark the start of a turbulent era, with old alliances fraying and new ones forming in real time. This is far more than a clash of speeches. Behind closed doors, leaders are making choices that will reshape global trade, international institutions, and the daily lives of millions. The cost of misunderstanding these moves is steep. Nations could lose influence, security, and prosperity. Now, awareness is your strongest defense. scrutinize what you hear, look beyond official statements, and remember that yesterday's rules may already be gone. Those who grasp these shifts will be better prepared to adapt, protect their interests, and even thrive as the world transforms. The world is not waiting. The decisions you make about what to believe and how to respond may shape your future more than you imagine.